where the mind goes, the body will follow, right? So
right, okay, good, yes.
And so the ability to digest food is not going to be there. Their sleep might be because of the stress. So we're not going to say, nah, fuck it, get in the gym and pound through it. No, we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to just have you go for a walk today and you know, and get a nap in if you can.
Wow.
You got to worry about, you know, we got to get your head right and get your body recovering, and then we can push hard later. It basically means problem solving. So, you know, mechanic is solving your car's problems. I solve problems amongst the human body. For general health, I think a lot of people are deficient. This is one of these things with the chronometer. You enter your foods and you can see what you might be deficient in. And for general health, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium.
Guns like Arnold, 30 years experience and counting, big shorts, big tees, best looking cap rack, a wealth of knowledge, no stone unturned, takes the no prisoner mindset. Is he the Marcus Aurelius of bodybuilding world? Please help me welcome the mechanic, Scott Slaman. How are you, mate?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. Nice to meet you. I don't know. You're obviously quite a star with the big guys. I see a lot of guys who are competing overseas. You're coaching them. How do you find knowing some of your boys are out there going in the big comp, the pro card guys?
I love it. It's so exciting. A lot of times the time zones are a little bit different in the overseas shows. So, you know, coordinating, trying to watch live streams and check-ins. Sometimes, 3 a.m. phone calls and so on and so forth gets a bit tricky, but you make it happen.
I just realized that. Yeah, I just realized that. All right, let's start with the first question. What's the one important task to bodybuilding? We all know it's one, training, but is it eating, rest, or you got to feel it?
Okay, so bodybuilding is all inclusive. You can't skip out on any aspect. If you keep, as far as the training goes, if you push as hard as you can, don't take any days off, you're going nowhere. If all you think about is recovery and not pushing hard, you're probably not giving yourself enough stimulus. Eating is a huge factor. The nutrients and whatnot you put in your body for recovery is going to be everything. So I don't think you can eliminate, unfortunately, I don't think you can eliminate any aspect of those things. It really has to encompass all of them.
So tell me, there's a lot of people out there talking about calories. And I don't know about you. I think me and you come from an old school bodybuilding mentality that we never had Tupperware containers. We just stopped at the local chicken shop, bought a whole chicken cut in 8. We ate the breast, we ate whatever, and we got maybe a baked potato. I mean, that was kind of your diet, And so tell me something. All these calories. I mean, we can't be eating like 1,000 calories of chocolate cake and Tim Tams. Like the way they talk is you can eat whatever you want as long as you stay in a deficit.
Yeah,
it's not that, is it?
Absolutely not. Like as far as, you look at the quality of nutrients that you put in your body, micronutrients, everything. That's like right. That. Like I use a program called Chronometer where I have people track their food. I give some people some leeway as far as what they eat, but if we have certain targets we're trying to hit,
yes,
we actually are able to see the micronutrients, the amino acid content, and everything amongst that to make sure that nothing is lacking. And if it is, we can't look at supplementing as far as that's concerned. But, the quality of food and digestion, inflammation, gut health, that's going to be, you can't make progress on shit.
Yeah, I think this is a whole subject in itself. But like I said, even when you get older, things change, man. I don't know what it is, what your body absorbs, what it likes, what you liked in your 30s seems to not be liked when you're in your 50s for some reason.
Well, as you get older, you lose a bit of the hydrochloric acid, the ability to break down proteins in the stomach. So,
wow.
there's some of that, and that will affect your absorption of zinc and B12 and some of these other nutrients as well, so we have to be cautious of that. We may even need to supplement like something like beta hydrochloride to help break down that protein and help or look at taking some bitter vegetables or something like that to stimulate that. But yeah, and as you get older, the digestion is not as robust as it is when you're a teenager and able to pound down, get the calories from McDonald's and chocolate milk and everything else. It's much more finicky.
Okay, so tell me, where did the name The Mechanic come from?
Well, I guess I don't know how it came up. Well, it basically means problem solving. So mechanic is solving your car's problems. I solve problems amongst the human body, mainly in the bodybuilding.
Okay. Who gave you the nickname?
Some guys up in Sydney, actually.
Oh, guys up in Sydney. All right, nice. Okay, and you're I don't know, between the two of you, are you American or Canadian? Where did you grow up? Tell us, young Scott, what were you like at school? And what did you really want to aspire to be when you were young? Like some kids want to be doctors, mechanics. What did you? So where did you grow up? Yeah, tell us about young Scott. Was he a lout? Was he from the class kind of kid?
Child. I was born in Oakland, California. I was raised in Berkeley, and in a kind of a rough neighborhood.
Okay.
I lived most of my young years in northern western Washington State. I lived in Vegas. I lived in Idaho. I lived all up and down the West Coast mainly. And as far as I got certified as a trainer back in '92. So if that gives you any indication of how long this goes back. I started training
in your 20s. In your 20s.
Yeah, well, it was I think 18 when that, something like that. But
okay.
Yeah, so it was definitely a passion of mine, and my first job was one of my first jobs was in Gold's Gym in Seattle.
Okay.
Opening the gym 5 a.m. Mopping the floors, cleaning the toilets. And then training people out of there, once I was certified and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually managing the gym, and then basically since then I've always been involved in the fitness industry, always trained people, whether it be in person or whether it be in people's homes, studios, or in a gym. But then it's branched off a little bit. I've been in the sports supplement industry for quite a few years. I was in even sold gym equipment for quite a few years. Managed quite a few gyms, but it's always been in that manufactured in the manufacturing business for sports supplements, importing, distribution, you name it. So haven't really ventured out too much other than that.
And what brought
my boy asked me yesterday? In fact, he goes, "What would you if you could do anything, Dad?"
Yeah.
Besides what you're doing, what would you
do?
What would you do? And I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do, to be honest. So,
wow,
that's pretty cool.
Well, I was listening to a podcast, and it was Mark Boris was talking to a girl called Caitlin, and she's the one that built the app Sweat by Caitlin.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this app, right? Well, I'll just let you know. You want to know what they sold their app for? A South Australian girl, personal trainer, just simple personal trainer that created an app. It was called Sweat by Kayla. 400 million.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad, eh?
That's insane.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, it's insane. It's not bad for burpees, but she's amazing. I learned a lot of stuff from the podcast. So I guess, like you said, but when did bodybuilding capture your attention then? Like, what age did you go, I love bodybuilding, or touch a weight, or do something in the garage?
Yeah, so I started, I was raised a real strict upbringing as well. My parents were religious, and I wasn't really allowed to do extracurricular activities. So I wasn't able to do sporting teams. So I wasn't able to join the football team or the wrestling team or do anything really, aside from, like people in my my church, basically.
Hey guys, Steve here from Muscle Talks. I just want to say thank you for you guys being here. Thank you for watching this podcast. What I'd really love is for you guys to hit the subscribe button. Why hit the subscribe button? It will just allow us to have a bigger reach, allow us to go get a bigger audience, and also bring you the best of the best here. Our goal here is to not only get our local people, but also international, and eventually, and hopefully, and will be bringing the Olympians to this station, Muscle Talks podcast. So please hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. So every time our podcast is launched weekly, that you get notified and you can sit back and enjoy this. Thanks, guys.
So, like my dad, I wasn't restricted in a lot of ways, but as far as socially, I was in that regard. So my dad got me, weight set and everything put in the garage. Oh. And I got the Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, right? and then, went through that.
It doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that doesn't have it, but go on. Yeah.
Yeah. And just, and did overtrained my ass off like crazy. Still responded pretty well. Still responded. I was a small kid, real skinny kid, small kid. Yeah. Muscle grew, and I was, kind of popping everywhere. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And I'm short, so it was like, okay, I make up for the height somewhere. And
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that kind of got my attention, and then I'd train at the school, and sometimes like when they were doing, the gym would close after school. And I would sneak in, and under the bleachers or whatever. And I'd sometimes train in the dark, so wow. It was,
love it.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to train. I found a way.
Wow, that's amazing. So being that you grew up, because I'm open to learn about everything and everyone. Are you... Your parents were Christian. Are you still practicing Christian in yourself, or is it?
I wouldn't say I'm practicing any particular religion. I definitely, believe there's a higher power. And
okay, that's all right.
Look,
it's a general question. I believe in God. I believe in God. I'll just say that clearly. It doesn't really bother me to say that. I grew up just a family that had icons everywhere. Being a Greek kid, and Mum went to church on Sundays. That was basically, how I grew up.
Yeah. Well, look, I on the plus side of that upbringing, I feel like a lot of morals and values were instilled in me from a very young age, and I'm actually thankful for that aspect of it.
Disciplines.
But some of the particular religious beliefs, was not, something that I grasped onto, long term.
Oh yeah, of course. No, there's a lot of stuff there that you'd question. Today. So who is your favorite bodybuilder of all time and why?
Geez, that's a good question. I keep going back to Kevin Levrone.
Kevin Levrone.
Yeah.
I liked him too. There was something about him though. He seemed like a spunky bodybuilder for some reason.
Yeah.
He had this swagger in him.
Yeah, well, he only aside from competing in the off season, he toured with his band, and he would shrink down. He wouldn't even that's why everybody would say, I want to grow into a show like Kevin, right? Well, he had phenomenal genetics. Not everybody can do that, right? But during many of his off season, he'd be touring with his band, drinking, living the opposite of a bodybuilding lifestyle. And then when he started, prepping for a show, he would, mentally focus. Wow. He'd probably be eating a lot more, and then his body would just recomp and make these incredible transformations and whatnot. So it was pretty cool to see, All
right, so Kevin Levrone, and all right, who's your favorite bodybuilder today?
Oh gosh, there's quite a few, man. I love watching the sport. I like watching, seeing guys come up and battling it out and maintaining a good attitude towards it all. I might have to, I'm just trying to think, I'm thinking the top Olympians and so on and so forth. You got current Olympia hottie, who doesn't speak English really, so we're not actually seeing much of his personality, but hottie, his determination is second to none. He's just absolutely determined, which I absolutely admire. And you got guys like Nick Walker, who's, you know, super vocal and confident, and that's kind of cool to watch. You know, I think, is it Samuel Samson or Samson? Is Milos, one of Milos' clients, who won the Arnold Classic earlier this year. He's coming up. He's looking incredible and very humble guy. Very, very, you know.
What about that guy? What about the guy? Is his name Regan? Regan, that's trained by Milos,
who just
too.
won the show in Spain.
Italian one.
Yep. Well,
Spain
he lost to Nathan in Italy. Nathan won in Italy, and then he came back the next week, a little bit fuller, and it went in Regan's favor. So he'll be good. He'll be good. I'm not sure if he'll be, you know, on the podium, but he's definitely made a lot of improvements and really, really admirable.
I got to say, I was telling Chris, I reached out to Milos, to get him on the podcast,
awesome.
Right? And the thing is, he replied. He actually said under contract. He goes, I can't come on.
Yeah,
and I was like to Chris, he's my best mate now. Like even that message makes him my best mate. And then I replied back saying, mate, thank you so much even to reply and tell us. Understandable, but maybe in the future. And he said, for sure. So that was quite hilarious.
Milos is so open, so passionate about the sport. You know, I don't agree with all of his principles, but like he's just got such a love for this and willing to share and stuff like that. Mad respect to him, you know. And
apparently sorry, go on. What?
It's so cool in this day and age that we are that close to, you know, like back when I grew up, you know, you're looking at the Arnold Schwarzenegger's encyclopedia, you looked at a bodybuilding mag, you wouldn't see results for 3 months till after the show. Like you didn't know what happened, right? Now you can actually reach out to somebody, right? Talk to Milos, and he says, you know, well, I'm under contract, otherwise I would. Like, how cool is that? Anything is like, it just goes to show how close we are. You know, how they talk about everybody's like interconnected and whatnot. Well, you know, we'll talk a little airy fairy, all spiritual, you know, like all energy and stuff like that. But you combine that with technology, and we literally could just reach out and get in touch with anybody. There's no limitations to it. It really isn't. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. And I think the other thing is, to elaborate further on that, is that, look, who the fuck am I? I'm nobody. But the fact is, the reason I'm reaching out to Milos is I respect him. Yeah. I don't know him. I respect at the moment what I'm seeing. I've seen him with Jay Cutler on Cutler Cast, whatever he's got going on, and I just thought, you know, if he replies, which I didn't think he would, but he did, I would treat him with the utmost respect and make sure the questions are according to respecting him. So I feel that if you're going in with the right intention, the worst thing you can do is say. The worst thing you can do is not do it. I guess I prefer to fail trying than never trying at all. So that's my philosophy, you know.
Most definitely.
So yeah, so it's not like I said. He's the A team of bodybuilding world. I'm just a podcast kid. But having said that, I think we could do a good podcast because I'd go in with that mindset that I've got guts to talk to you, because it's all about guts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, we never should sell ourselves short. Like, everybody is completely. No. We're all on the same level, man. Like, some people have more fame, but there's never, there's not tiers, man. That's what my whole point is. Now everything's just, we're all even playing field. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I love it. So you're a certified American. You are certified American Council on Exercise, right? What's that?
Oh, that was a certification years ago. ACE, they called it, American Council on Exercise. And I went to a school.
You studied under the NASM American College of Sports Medicine as well?
So the school I went to, Lake Washington Technical College, they would, all their textbooks and everything like that was under either American College of Sports Medicine or National Academy of Sports Medicine. And we had to go through these examinations, and like practical examinations too as well, like doing VO2 max tests and things like that. So when I got certified, I had to even, we'd be in the shopping centers and I had to get signed off on like, 100 blood pressures and 100 like skin fold measurements and like maybe even more than 100. Like there was like ridiculous amounts. Then we did internships.
That's serious, yeah.
Numerous like health clubs and things like that too as well. So, I couldn't do a VO2 max test for anybody anymore. I can't remember how to do that. Like we'd study the anatomy on like these rubberized cadaver molds and things like that, and and have to do every so it was pretty in depth. And I've probably forgotten half of what I learned in that aspect. It hasn't been translatable to what I know now, but I'm still learning. This is the thing. Like I've forgotten some of that, but the stuff that I learned now, like. This morning I'm listening to a podcast, Dr. Scott Stevenson, like these guys that learning more and more and more. It just never stops.
It's incredible. I mean, I guess you need to know firstly the foundations of training, which is, I think bodybuilding is literally you go in, you empty the tank, and you get the fuck out. Like it was, that's how we used to train. I think, and I tell people we used to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym only because when we were leaving, a mate would pop in and he'd go, "Would you spot me?" So you stayed for half an hour to spot the bloke. So there was a lot of spotting going on.
Well, I will say this, when I did this Arnold Schwarzenegger's, full body bullshit, right? Like, man, 3-hour workouts were not uncommon. And then here's the thing, like, I'll tell you a pivotal point. In 92, right, I went to Joe Weider's muscle camp where the star was Dorian Yates, right? So we had Dorian in there doing the seminar. Wow. And this is one of the first pro bodybuilders I'd seen, right? And it's Dorian. Like,
was that his off season? Was that his off season?
He was over 300 pounds, And I'm just looking at these apps, just thinking, this guy is an alien, right? What the fuck? And he went through his, he's doing one working set per movement, training 4 days a week. And here I am doing this, like, he's doing like less a week than I'm doing in a session, right? And, I went, as soon as that seminar finished, I'm back, I'm going, I'm changing everything. and sure enough, I made more progress in that time period than I've made any other time. Is when I switched from that high volume, just extra shit everywhere. I was learning a new exercise and just adding it. I wasn't replacing. I was just adding more and more stuff, thinking more is better.
Yeah, we're adding stuff. Yeah.
And when I pulled it right back, and to this Dorian style of training, I grew. Like this is before PEDs. This just grew, and I'm like, I'll go back to it. I'm doing Dorian split right. I'm doing push pull legs and whatnot. And I'm actually going back to Dorian split right now. So I love it.
He's I think he was the shift from Lee Haney to what we see now. I think he was the gear change. Then obviously Ronnie Coleman came along and did another gear change, but I think Dorian Yates was the gear change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, and that was right before.
It was cool.
Yeah.
No, he was amazing. He was amazing. He had what a body he had. Tell me, who have you trained, and you still kind of pinch yourself today?
As far as training,
is there anybody that you might, like, you've trained someone, like, I don't know, someone you go, I can't believe I trained that athlete or that person, or well, you may have trained nobody. I don't know. I mean, they're all the same to you.
I'm just still so grateful, like, and just blown away that people still come, like, not still, but people are still coming to me all the time and wanting my help. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then when they, and when they take their physique to the next level, and then they're appreciative of that. And it's just like, I do it for free. Well, maybe not, but no, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course I know what you're saying.
This is I found my calling, you know, as far as that's concerned, because it really is. It's a massive reward when, you know, when I've taken somebody that's trained for many years, maybe had other coaches or whatever it is, hit a plateau, not seen many more changes, and I've kind of problem solved, right, and figured out what to make it better, tweaked a few things here and there. It's been challenging, and then all right, boom, and then gone to the next level of making more changes. And like that's where I go, and I try to do it in the, you know, let's face it, we're in the enhanced world. I try to do it with less, with much less, with the you know, with as little risk as possible.
Good, that's good. Oh, I can only imagine. Tell me, is there ever been? Do you feel you've ever been tested or challenged with a body task? We're talking about not now. I'm talking about ever. Have you looked at it and gone, like, oh, this one's going to be a doozy? Like someone wants, wants something or to achieve something. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of guys that, you know, maybe don't have a lot of experience, that, you know, they have the typical, you know, hey, I want to grow and I want to get shredded at the same time, and you know, and then they're, you know, and you look at what they're eating, and they're only eating like 1,500 calories, and they want to get shredded, and you're like, oh, you know, like it's just, you just know it's going to take time, and I just preface it, okay, you're going to have to be patient because we're going to have to slowly do a lot of things before we're in a position to make, you know, to get you to where you need to be. I mean, like if somebody's eating a lot of food and they're eating shit and they're eating, you know, like, you know, pizzas and everything, and they want to get lean, hey, that's easy. You know, anybody can do that. That's super easy. But yeah, there's ones, and you know, and the other thing is, there's you know, because of social media and stuff like that, and you know, you've got these genetic phenomenal people out there, and you know, and then the average, you know, person might come and they go, well, I want to look like this guy. And
oh yeah,
you know, it's trying to say, well, you know, and the genetics play such a huge role. You know, in pro bodybuilding, genetics are literally, you know, they can make, they don't have to even do everything perfectly. You know, if you have amazing genetics, you could be an okay pro bodybuilder, and then if you're going to be at the top of that, you got
explain genetics. Explain genetics, because I'm assuming you're genetically got big arms. But what do you mean by genetics?
Your parents. So
your parents, right? Got it.
You know, if people would generally know this within the first couple of years of training how they would respond. So, you know, within the first couple of years, you're going to either respond quite well or pretty poorly. And if you respond quite well, you can often just keep going. And then there's also people that are very, you know, hyper responders to performance enhancing products. And you combine the genetics for muscle growth and repair and staying lean with being a hyper responder, and then that's where you make the upper echelon of the elite. But you know, like I work with people of all sort of genetic backgrounds, and you know, I also pride myself on taking somebody with, I guess you'd call it below average genetics, meaning that they've tried everything and they aren't able, they're really struggling to grow muscle or get leaner or whatever it might be. And then making sure that they are making progress. And it really is one of these scenarios where you got to stop looking at somebody else and comparing and going back to being, you know, better than you've ever been, whether it being whatever aspect it might be, just making those 1% changes weekly, daily might be to get you closer to your goal. Of course, if you're on a bodybuilding stage, especially on a pro bodybuilding stage, yeah, you do kind of have to compare yourself to other people because that's part of what you do. But you know, that's not the majority of us.
No. And have you ever? I think you answered that question. Have you ever had requests when you look at that person and you think to yourself, "I don't think we can achieve what you want"? How do you counsel that bloke or that girl?
Basically, say, you know, get different parents.
Get adopted.
Yeah, get some different parents. Well, look, it's all about scaling and changing their perspective and going, okay, you know, where were you last, or even I've had people that have been with me for a little while and go, well, how come I don't look like this? And they show me a picture of, again, a genetic freak. I say, okay, well, look at where you were last year. And I might even pull up a picture of them compared to last year.
Oh, yeah.
Dramatic changes. Go, look at the changes there, and if we keep going, you're going to keep making this progress. But don't be pulling up a picture of somebody that's got different parents, like that looks completely different. Look at where you come from, where you're going to go compared to you. Don't worry about anybody else.
No, it's true. And also, obviously, have you, besides everything else, how much do you become a bit of a psychologist for him? Like, you kind of like, there's counseling sessions that sometimes need to be had. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with people's issues, problems, girlfriends, breakups in the midst of everything, and they're feeling down? How do you deal with that?
Well, where the mind goes, the body will follow, right? So
Okay, good, yes.
So if somebody's going through some stuff, especially major stress or whatever it is, whether they're generally somebody's going to be in a phase where they're dieting or they're growing, right? So, but you have to take that into account. So if they're stressed, they might not have their appetite might go to shit. They might not be able to push food in. And I'm not going to say, hey, don't worry about it, just eat, because their sympathetic nervous system is just going overdrive. And so the ability to digest food is not going to be there. Their sleep might be because of the stress. So we're not going to say, get in the gym and pound through it. No, we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to just have you go for a walk today and get a nap in if you can.
Wow.
You got to worry about, we got to get your head right and get your body recovering, and then we can push hard later, right? So we got to get everything else going, first. I don't try to battle through whatever else is going on. We got to pay attention to that stuff.
So basically what you're saying is you're trying to, they're in the thick of it, and what you're trying to do is find areas where you can relieve them a bit, but not delve into the head too much. Find salvation somewhere. Yeah,
exactly. So, I definitely will encourage people to, seek professional help, or, give them some, meditations to listen to, or whatever might help, or give them some breathing exercises to help with anxiety, some breathing techniques.
Because
I'm a bit hippie, I believe in, getting out get your feet out on the grass of the beach, grounding, right? That can help get the sun on your face, do some diaphragmatic breathing, nice, slow, long exhales, and get that headspace right, and then got to make sure sleep is on point, because if sleep is off, you can't just keep powering through that. You're gonna burn out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's great principles that you kind of put in place. So when it comes to yourself, like, is there like your athletes? You don't shy away if they want to go to the Arnolds, they want to reach Olympia, whatever it is. We're in for the ride.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the question? Am I in?
The question is the question is, what level of confidence do you like? What I'm saying is, there are trainers, there's a lot of people training people and training people to compete. But it sounds like to me, your sky's the limit. Wherever you want to go, I'll take you there. You just tell me what you want. As long as everyone's married into the journey and everyone's making the commitment, you're pretty much like, you'd love to take on the big guns, the big boys. That's what I'm assuming.
I wouldn't shy away from anybody. No way. As far as that's concerned.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And on the other hand, I also am not. I don't want to disillusion anyone. And again, somebody with maybe not the best genetics, whatever it is, I'm not going to tell them that they're going to get the pro card or anything like that, right? Like, it's going to be, let's just keep winding it back to comparing themselves to themselves, right? And just getting better and making improvements. So I'm not one. I don't dish out a lot of compliments. I don't blow smoke up anybody. I'm very conservative when it comes to that. I'd rather, you know, their results do the talking. I don't promise anybody. I'd rather under promise and over deliver, because I don't want to tell anybody, oh, you're going to be the next this, that, or the other, whatever it is. And I don't want to be the source of the disappointment, right? So I'd rather just hold back and let them, you know, and watch what happens, and let them get excited about their own achievements and things, right?
Okay, I like the sound of that. It's also, so coaching athletes, competitors online, especially at a comp, I want to know, how do you get the information? How do you know what they're supposed to have that morning? Like, how does it all happen? You obviously mentioned the 3 a.m. phone call or the video call. Like, how do you do that? What are you looking at, specifics? What are the questions you ask?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, for example, if somebody's overseas competing, I have them bring their scale with them in the suitcase, their body weight scale, because we find a look that's very suitable for them, and it might be a certain weight. We know when we push X amount of carbs in, or, you know, they're a little bit flat, what weight they suit. And, you know, sometimes when traveling and with the different foods and things like that, still trying to, you know, we set some targets, and they're sending me pictures of, like, you know, because the foods aren't the same in America, right? So they're looking at, okay, that's what
I mean, yeah.
You know, their version of this. I got some, you know, like Ali had some, you know, went to Trader Joe's, and we found like some organic, you know, cooked chicken and things like that as well. And we were, you know, utilizing that cream of rice and, you know, everything like that. And we, you know, jump on the scale, get photos, get a video, and then it would be several times a day. And then, okay, I want to see what's your weight that night, right? It'd be X amount, and then we'd obviously, you know, drop a couple kilos by the morning. We'd look at that weight. We know we want to go to bed a little bit on the fuller side, so that when things pull back in the morning, we've got that look, and then just trying to maintain that stage. So there's a lot of communication, as best we can.
It just amazes me that people go, yeah, I spoke to my coach on the phone this morning, and he told me I should eat this, or I got to do this, or I have to do that. And I think, your coach is in Australia, like, or wherever they are in the world. Like, I think, how do they work this out?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's some things we want to keep constant, you know, and that might be like, you know, I'll have somebody measure their fluids, you know, so that we know how many liters of water are they getting. I'm having them measure their salt. I'm having them, you know, they're inputting, like, incredibly, they're putting all their food in, so I know exactly how much they've eaten, what they weighed at that look. And then we look at pictures. So if somebody has like the lagging point that comes in, like if we're looking at for striated glutes, let's say, we look, okay, at what point are those starting to come in, and we assess from there.
Okay, so explain to me deload and the remedies for it.
So why a person would deload?
Yeah, like you explain. I know. I'll give you an example. At the moment myself, I'm like pumped, and then I'm not pumped. I don't know. Obviously, it could be my age coming. I don't want to say, like, I'm 54, but I look unreal. But that's another story. But having said that, and I need to lose 20 kilos, by the way. But you mentioned something about going in there and doing certain sets, like not even doing sets, just doing a set.
So the question is, I guess, when would a person deload? And
yeah, when would a person deload? Yeah.
So the answer to that is, if we program the training and the recovery and the food and the sleep, everything properly, hopefully we don't need to.
Right.
Okay. And they've done some studies that shown when somebody pre-programs deloads, for example, I saw a study where they had two groups of people. They had one group that carried on the training for, I think it was 8 weeks. And then another group, I think it was 9 weeks, sorry. And then another group who did 4 weeks of training, 1 week of complete rest, and then another 4 weeks of training. So their deload was a complete rest. And they found that when they got back to training, they were more sore. And the group that actually didn't take the deload made better progress. And that was just one study. I don't know exactly how they trained or anything like that. But my point is, if we don't need to, we don't automatically just take it. So we look for signs. So one of the signs might be,
yes,
you're not getting a pump, right? You're feeling, you know, like you might lose your appetite. Your strength is going down versus up. You're feeling a little bit anxious or agitated. You know, like
Yeah.
Sleep is a little bit off. Like just overall, just generally, like just push back.
Sounds like me this week.
Yeah.
Sounds
And
like me
so the
this week.
way
Keep
I
going.
like to look at a deload is instead of taking the week off entirely, is to pull back on volume massively. So instead of doing, maybe just doing one working set per movement instead of whatever a person normally does, 2 or 3 or whatever, my one working set per movement, but still push it near failure. So you're still actually doing something effective in the gym. You're not just doing nothing. You're still doing something
Yeah.
effective. And then you also might pull back
Yep.
some movements. So, for example, let's say somebody's doing legs. You might have them do one set of extensions, set of leg curls, and they normally might do a leg press and a hack squat and a pendulum, whatever it might be. You might just have them do one of that. They just do, let's say, a hack squat, right? No leg press, no pendulum. They do one set of hack squat, one set of extensions, one set of curls, and some adductor, something like that. And we steer away from any internally stabilized movements. So everything's externally stabilized, meaning you're not balancing around on dumbbells and squatting, things like that. You should take away as much stress as you possibly can. You get rid of high intensity cardio that week if you're doing high intensity stuff, and you try to nurture your sympathetic or your parasympathetic nervous system. So you can do some meditation, some nice walks, things like that as well, and try to get your nervous system back on point. So that's what I would recommend as a way to mitigate some of that stress. But like I said, hopefully if you're doing your recovery and you're not overreaching on your training, you can go on for quite some time without needing it.
Yeah, no, I found that studying you last night, I did find it interesting because, I don't know, like I said, there's a lot going on in the world, I guess a lot going on in life, and sometimes you want to go, but you just don't feel like you don't feel like you're going to be productive. And I think feeling like you said, if you can get in there and break it down that way, it feels you've accomplished something anyway.
Yeah.
So go, and that makes you feel good. It's about feeling good,
That's exactly right. And somebody might plan a whole week like that if they feel, if they really were needing that reset. Or somebody might find they didn't sleep well the night before, and you either take the day off the gym, right? Like have that day off, or like the other option would be go in and just do, instead of, let's say you're normally doing, 15, 20 working sets, that workout, you might only do 8 to 10. So about half of what you normally would do in working sets. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. That would be kind of auto-regulation as far as that goes. If you have a coach, sometimes the coach might say, okay, we're going to take the whole week and this is how I want you to train for that week. But, if you've had enough experience, you can kind of, pay attention to your body and know when it's giving you those cues to pull back.
Yeah, I think, I'm feeling that. So I didn't know, like I said, I could take a day off in 2 and I don't mind it, but it's kind of like when it comes to 3 or 4 days off, I don't want to, but I'm thinking, maybe I can come back with this deload style for at least, even for the week, because sometimes it only takes maybe a day or 2 and you're back. Something happens,
exactly.
You got over your little...
And if somebody's... Let me add one quick thing. If somebody's deep in a diet, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The stress of the diet's going to be a big factor on their recovery also. So during that deload, I might push their food up to maintenance calories to get rid of stress from the diet side of things too as well. So we're washing away as much stress from all angles as we can.
Well, it seems like stress is... there's this comedian guy, and he calls himself... he's not a comedian. He's actually a coach in Melbourne, actually, and he calls himself Dr. Gaines.
Okay.
And he says that his arch enemy is count losses, right? Losses, and so it's gains and losses. And it seems like there's also what's called stress. That's one of the enemies of bodybuilding is stress.
100%.
Stress is an enemy. Yeah, no.
It's all about balance. We want to put just the right amount of stress on our body to be able to recover from too as well. So
just enough. I think what you just said. We want the stress on the body, not on the mind.
It's true. Yeah.
So your latest post, and you had your son making funny faces.
That was in my stories. Yeah.
I don't know if you're wearing your Miami Vice glasses at the time, but you're talking about people, promises, not following through. You seemed a little frustrated, but I get you. I think I replied back to you. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah.
replied back to me. What is it about people making these promises, and it seems like people like to ghost or not? What is it
Well, look,
about the ghosting
I'm
part?
just a
Because
firm believer.
I'll say one more thing to go further. I find I don't mind if things don't go my way. I don't mind that, because if it doesn't go my way, what I appreciate is the communication to tell me it's not going my way, or we're not going to follow through, or we're not going to go to the next stage, or I made a promise and you know what, I've changed my mind. But it seems like everybody just wants to ghost people.
Oh yeah,
And that's
yeah,
where I was getting it
exactly.
from. Yeah, go on.
Exactly.
What
Well,
happened there, mate? What happened there?
I just preface this as, I've just brought up in the way, if you say you're going to do something, you follow through, right? To the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
this is where I also feel like don't put promises out there. Like don't say anything. Like I've had a few people, a couple of companies actually say, "Oh, I'm going to send you this or do this and send you," and then like they just never did. I don't care, because here's the thing: if they hadn't said anything to me, I'd still think they were great companies, right? They hadn't said,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I still think awesome companies. But they're telling me they're going to do these things, which I didn't ask for. I didn't even want, right? It's like, oh, that's very nice. That's very, and then they don't. Like, and it just tells me, that, hang on. And look, I will, people get busy. People do forget. I do understand that. But, don't tell somebody you're going to do something and not follow through. Again, it goes back to the point, I don't make any promises towards people achieving X amount of results. I'd rather under promise and over deliver. I'd rather them see it for themselves, or I'd rather, give them something extra on top of that. Or, if they're going to send something, just send it, weigh what you're at, just send it. Don't tell these things. This is like, as mentioned, this is something I teach my kids, and you know this, if you have kids, like if you tell them, hey, we're going to get an ice cream.
I do.
Like,
I have to.
if you don't follow through on that, my boy today, he goes, remember you told me if I did the holiday program, I'd get an ice cream afterwards. I'm like, yep. He wasn't feeling well, so we had to pick him up early, and he says, I said, but you didn't stay the whole day. He goes, well, that wasn't in my control. I said, well, you're right.
Good answer.
Here you go.
Good answer. These kids, man. I mean,
They hold you
what can
accountable,
really?
100%.
But they do. I think as well, just to add to like what you're saying is, even if someone makes a promise, it's okay to say, I can't deliver, because you can still love the company, love the person, because you think to yourself, man, you stood up. You said you're doing it, but you've also stood up and saying you're not going to do it now. At least we're clear.
100%
It's all about clarity,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into that. So there's a few comps happening at the moment. Have you got any contenders out there at the moment? Have you got what's going on out there? Because there's a few comps going on, and what's going on?
I just had a guy in WA do the IFBB show over there. He won his 2 categories there, which I'm very proud of him. He did well. He's actually from Victoria, but he went over there because he's a coach himself, and he didn't want to be competing against any of his athletes here. He wanted to be able to, go over there, do his comp, get that out of the way, and then come over here and give them his full attention. So I respect that. That's kind of cool.
And what did he win? What category?
Oh, he won the. They divided the weight class under and over 85. So he was over 85. He was about 96 on stage, and then he did the Masters, which I actually forgot he was over 40 because he looks much younger. But he did the Masters, won that.
Okay.
And he might do nationals as well. We haven't decided 100%. And then I've got a few guys in VIX coming. Well, actually, New South Wales next. So I've got I got 3 guys in New South Wales IFBB, 1 first timer, and a couple others, and then a few in Victoria, a couple first timers. And look, these first timers are amazing. They don't question anything. They just stick to the plan. They're so they're really, really good. They're really good.
Oh, I love it. I love, like I said, first timers. I guess So we're actually coming down to Melbourne for the Melbourne show. We're going to be there.
Awesome.
Me and Chris are going to come to the show, and we're actually going to do a podcast with Doherty.
Tony, excellent.
And we're going to do, Tony, we're going to do a podcast with, I think, Coach Andrew. I forgot his name. The coach, what's it? Andrew. He's sports coach. I think he's a physio guy. I think he's a physio guy, well known. I don't know. Like, I do know. I'm acting like I don't know, but I do know. But he's, I think it's called Coach Andrew. But he's predominantly physio recovery.
Okay, cool.
But he's in the bodybuilding game.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah, so we've got a few. We actually got 5 people we're doing podcasts down there with. I didn't know at the time we were coming down. Even with you, I would have had you with us. But
yeah, well, at least we'll be able to meet at the show.
But we'll get to meet at the show. Getting towards the end now, but I wanted to ask you, what supplements, vitamins, do you think are the ones you really strongly believe you can't go without?
Okay, for general health, I think a lot of people are deficient, and this is one of these things with the chronometer. You enter your foods and you can see what you might be deficient in. And for general health, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium. It's responsible for 600 different functions in your body. You need it for muscle contraction, sleep, you name it. Magnesium would be my number one. I would also look at vitamin D, vitamin D3, and I would probably pair that with vitamin K, vitamin K2, because vitamin D increases calcium absorption, which is great, but that calcium can be deposited in the soft tissues and arteries and things like that. And vitamin K, when taken with the D, can help that be deposited more in the bones. So less risk of that. And then obviously taken in the morning with food, preferably a little fats for best absorption. Vitamin D can also inhibit melatonin production, so you wouldn't want to take that at night. So those would be some of the basics. I'd probably go with maybe a good quality greens drink, where you're getting all your nutrients through. I know the Stan from Body Beyond and those guys, give them a little plug. They do a product called 180 Degree Greens, and it's got all your micronutrients. It's got a shit ton of glucose disposal agents like berberine, alpha-lipoic acid, chromium, vanadium, bitter melon, gymnea sylvestre. All these things to actually help uptake, help utilize carbs better. Digestive enzymes and things like that too as well. So I prefer that than some of the synthetic vitamins, because like even within synthetic vitamins, you might get a poor form of, like for example, the version of folic acid isn't very well absorbed versus like a good quality folate. So if there's different forms of B12 and things like that. So you might get a good activated B, so you really get what you pay for as far as those kind of supplements are concerned. I definitely recommend everybody get on creatine. No question about that. And as far as, bodybuilding side of supplements, you can get most of the things you need through food. Although for a lot of people, it's hard to get your protein content where you want it to through food. And sometimes it's easier to get a nice, a quality, shake, like an isolate or something. And then what else? I'm a big fan of intra-workout.
What was the one you... What's intra-workout? What's that?
So I'm a big fan of using nutrients and carbs during my session, during my workout. And specifically, I use a product called highly branched cyclic dextrin. And what that is it's like maltodextrin, but it's modified to the form of it's a heavy molecular weight and it's low osmosis. So what that means is it passes through your digestive system very quickly, but it doesn't spike your blood sugar levels very quickly. So you don't want that spike, because if you take it like before your session, you're going to be up and down, crash. So it elevates your blood sugar levels, but not rapidly. But very quick uptake, and you can pair that with like some essential amino acids, being all 9, being a complete protein, some electrolytes, put your creatine in there, and have that during a session, which help lower cortisol levels, help replenish glycogen stores. At the time of training, you're going to be the most insulin sensitive, more than you will any other time throughout the day. So that's a good time to get those nutrients and carbs in. So it's less likely to be stored as fat than any other time. So I have guys, even if they're real deep into prep, even having a little bit of that during their training. In the off season, somebody might be having as much as 100 grams of carbs during their session, because they're trying to get more calories in. But even pre-contest, they might even have as little as 25.
Okay, and tell me, there was something you said about absorbing protein when you're getting older. There's a product or something you should be taking to
Oh,
absorb
okay.
protein.
So,
What was that again?
so you lose some of your ability to digest protein through stomach acid as you get older. You get less stomach acid,
Yes.
and you can get a product that's called betaine hydrochloride. And basically, what that
What's
is
it called?
it's betaine, betaine, hydrochloride or HCl. And basically, what that is like stomach acid. So if you're having a big steak or something like that, have some of those, and it will help break down the proteins so that it's better assimilated. I did a test. I had some inflammatory bowel issues years and years ago, and I did a test
I do.
with these doctors, some of which came from Harvard, and these naturopaths, and I swallowed this transmitter, and they tested the pH level in my stomach and found that after introducing like an alkaline solution, like baking soda, my pH, my stomach acidity didn't come back very well. So they found that I needed to use these, and I've further researched. And see, the problem is, like, a lot of people will get this reflux, this burping after eating their food, and that's often not a sign of too much acid. It's often a sign of not enough, because it's not actually digesting and absorbing. It's actually coming up through the esophagus, and you're regurgitating it. And it's not because of too much stomach acid, it's because of not enough. And the first thing doctors will do is give you antacids. It's just not going to really fix the problem. It'll help short term, but not actual root cause.
Oh, it's amazing what the stuff you've just mentioned. But yeah, I think I've never heard of vitamin K. That's the thing. I've never heard of vitamin K. It's a newbie for me, vitamin K.
No, so some supplements actually, some vitamin D's actually already pair it. They already do like a combination.
Okay. Also, you mentioned that one of our final questions, then we'll get into the body. You mentioned that you seem to be getting a lot of interest from people overseas, mostly underdeveloped countries, and you're always wondering, because we spoke about that over the phone, and you're thinking to yourself, because I guess they can't afford it, how do they train these guys? And you were talking about somehow trying to find a solution for
something
them.
I'm looking at doing in the future is doing an app where I can incorporate some instructional videos, of doing the exercises, and putting a workout plan together for them. Might even utilize some technologies to make that somewhat automated, to where that could be a very minimal cost for them, so where it's not the individualized coaching, which is not going to be affordable for them. So I'll be very transparent. Hey, this is not my individualized coaching program, but this is something that I would recommend for somebody like you, and then have it be something that I could roll out to and scale.
Well, that I knew when we spoke about it, I thought it was a great idea. Maybe we could talk about it more. I think it's something, I'm a firm believer going out and helping those less fortunate, because at the end of the day, we're very fortunate that we can get gym memberships, and some of these people who I think could thrive by the wonderful environment we have, which is the gym. And I think there's no place like it, because it's the only place that, even though you're stressed, you can come in and somehow get some grace, a bit of a moment. But obviously, once you leave the gym, the stress is back. But the gym is an escape. It's a place in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is go over the whole body now with you, if you don't mind. I'm going to give you a body part.
Okay.
And you give me the exercise, sets, and reps. Now, if you don't train it, I mean, you're a trainer, you train it, but we'll just say, like, I'll give you an example. If I was just, I think you got it. Like, I mean, if I said bicep and I said preacher curls, and you said, all right, tell me how many. And I said, let's just, for argument's sake, go 3 sets of 10. Okay, so traps.
Kelso shrugs.
Kelso shrugs, right. And how many sets and how many reps?
Probably 2 working sets, and that's not including warm-ups. And I like a rep range of somewhere maybe 6 to 12.
All right, 6 to 12. Okay. Delts. We're talking about rear delts.
Rear delts, probably a rear delt, like the prime rear delt fly, and probably loaded on the lengthened position to where it's a little bit harder in the lengthened position. It drops off so you can get a bit of a contraction. And the same rep range for that.
Okay. How many sets? How many reps?
Probably say 6 to 12 on pretty much everything. Don't feel like the need to do more than,
All right,
more than that, and as close to failure as you can.
Okay. And what about front delts?
Front delts, well, probably an overhead press.
Okay, overhead press, yep. And I guess you're saying sets again, 3 sets
Two
after
sets,
the warm-up?
6 to 12 reps. The working sets.
Okay. And side delts?
Cable lateral raise.
Yep. And the same set range, I guess I'm pushing there for, right? And what about back?
That's a big muscle. I mean, he can hit it from all angles.
Oh, yeah.
Look, if I'm going to pick one movement, maybe a chest-supported T-bar row.
Oh, yes, chest-supported T-bar row, yes.
Pretty much everything.
You do one.
A lot of upper back as well. Rear delts, traps, mid-traps. You can change grips on it.
I think you did that with... I think I saw you do that with Patrick.
Very possible, yeah.
Terminator. And how many sets and reps there?
Same thing. I'm 2 sets, 6 to 12, maybe even 10.
Okay. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this out. Chest?
Probably a plate-loaded machine that converges, you know? Something you feel like you connect well with as far as that's concerned. So if you can't find a machine that sits well for you, you could probably set up a cable, you know, sitting on a bench, you know, driving forward.
Okay, same thing, 6 to 10 reps, and sets 2. I said bicep.
Probably preacher curl, machine preacher curl.
A preacher curl, yeah.
Single arm, so you can get yourself locked in position. Nice.
Tricep.
I don't know if I'd go with a press, you know, like a close grip, like a neutral grip kind of chest press, you know, because you're it's a good tricep movement, but you're also killing a lot of birds with one stone with being able to hit some pecs and delts as well, or you know, or similar like a dip, or if you're going to be specific just for the tricep, I'd probably use a single arm cable push down.
Okay, single arm cable push down. Okay. I don't know if anyone trains this anymore, but forearms.
Oh yeah, just probably some reverse curls, some hammer curls.
Reverse curls, hammer curls. Okay.
Because I also think not only forearms, but you're seeing the brachialis and things like that too as well. So I think what's going to be the most bang for buck, you know, and I'm not thinking just specifically forearms.
Right, the brachialis. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I agree. The abs.
Abs, probably hanging leg raise.
Oh, yeah. And how many sets, reps for abs? I'm just going to...
Well, you know, we're going to be focusing on rocking your pelvis up as you come up, nice and slow and controlled. So as many as you probably can do. And for some people, that might only be, you know, if I'm doing it properly, I struggle to get 10 if I'm doing this properly. If I'm just doing, you know, leg raises, working my hip flexors, I could probably do, 30. But if I'm doing them properly, less than 10.
Okay. Quads?
Probably pendulum squat.
Pendulum squat. Okay. That's a hard one too. That pendulum squat. By the way, Reggie says hello. We had Reggie on the podcast too.
Cool.
Yeah. Hammies?
Straight-legged deadlift or seated leg curl.
Deadlift, okay.
Either straight-legged deadlift
Seated
or
leg
seated
curl,
leg
yeah.
curl, depending. In two different movements. One's, knee flexion, one's hip hinge.
Okay. Calves? Calves?
Standing calf raise.
And what about calves? How many reps? Because that's always a question with calves.
Yeah, no,
Sets
I
and
still
reps.
think you can grow your calves. Like if you're going, it's going to be, pausing at the bottom, for a couple of seconds, full contraction, real slow eccentric. I'll tell you, for calves, I don't know if you've heard of, Dante Trudell. He had his DC style set for calves, right? And I'll tell you this. So what it was is he would only do 10 reps, but here's the caveat, right? You pick a weight you maybe could do at least 20 with, but regular speed up, contract, 5-second eccentric, right? Hold the stretch at the bottom for 15 seconds each rep.
Wow.
So each rep takes 20 seconds. So it's a up, 5-second eccentric, 15-second hold, up. So 10 of those, you're cooked.
You're cooked. Oh, I like that. Tibialis?
Tibialis anterior raises.
Anterior raises, yeah, okay. Well, we've come to the end. But the last thing I'd like you to do is to promote yourself. So how about you get your moment, tell people where they find you on your socials, your website. You also, apparently you do like a Sunday podcast, I'm assuming. I see a bit of a podcasting
we're doing
going
Sunday
on.
Night Lives now. I get in the studio every once in a while and do a Q&A, which I'm doing.
Yeah.
But we've done one, so I feel like I can. No, I still need to get it out there. But just my Instagram, Scott Slaman. Pretty simple.
Okay, and where do they find you in person? Which gym are you? Or are you everywhere? They can't. There's no in person.
Elusive.
You'll be lucky to find him anywhere. You'll be elusive. Well, I wanted to say thank you, Scott. Like I said to you, I feel like I don't know. I mean, I might have said that to a few people, but I do feel like you're a rock star in the industry. A lot of bodybuilders have spoke highly about you, even in podcasts. Like I said, we've had Patrick on, we've had Reggie on. And like I said, I've watched you. I listened to your commentary and your advice, and I feel I am learning from the best. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.